He died in 1943.
43.
January the 3rd of 1943.
I see. Okay, so then was Henry Olson the constable after that?
Pardon me?
Is that when Henry Olson became constable?
Yeah, of course they had all, well the funny part about it was, the Gillespies always ran for any law office. And all during the time that was going on, none of them would speak to Daddy. And then when the election was over, they'd start speaking again.
Mm-hmm.
Because after he had beat them, they'd start speaking again. But up to that time, they didn't speak.
Okay, so you're talking about Big Yancey?
I'm talking about, yeah,
Uh-huh.
Henry and Big Yancey.
Now let's see, how are those two related?
Okay, through marriage, because Big Yancey was initially married to Miss Dyer. That right there. Annie.
She was his third wife. I mean, he was her third husband.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Big Yancey was. Now, I used to know the connection to Henry, but I can't call it.
Well, Henry was an Olson.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have to be through marriage. I'm trying to think. Henry Olson's wife was a Gillespie.
Oh.
Ruth Gillespie, I want to say.
Huh, I see. Trying to
That ought to be available somewhere. I'll probably dig back in my...
Yeah, it's, I think we can find that. Willie knows a lot of that. He can remember it, I can't.
Yeah.
I've probably seen it, but I can't remember it.
My mother had an absolutely fantastic memory. She could remember everything, everybody when they were born, who they married, how many kids they had when the kids were born, and everything. And I acquired a lot of that memory, but I lost an awful lot of it, which I regret.
Yeah.
Because I used to, Mama would just rattle all the time talking, and I wish I'd have listened more, because I just let her talk, and I, and listen, and that's where I acquired what I did.
So she was talking about people,
people
and events, and who did what, just everything that
right was going on, and who was who, and who married who, and their kids, and what all. But she had a,
I see,
like I say, fantastic memory about all that.
Yeah.
And now Mama was born and reared at Lamar. My mother.
Oh, really? Lamar Peninsula.
Yeah.
So were they some of the people that left the island during the Civil War? Or they got run off of St. Joe and ended up over on the peninsula? Was she kind of out of that group?
Yeah, probably.
Because I understand a lot of people, some Brundretts and the Roberts and whoever, they had to run from the Union. Yeah. So they went across the bay.
The Yankees, the damn Yankees. And another ironic thing was, on my dad's side, he had a sister, Jane Amelia, and she just absolutely detested the Yankees. She had 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter, and her daughter was born on February the 12th, Abraham Lincoln's birthday, and that just like to kill her.
Oh.
Very idea that Big Sis would have been born on Abraham Lincoln's birthday.
Right. Well, I don't think the Yankees exactly did a lot, gave everybody a lot of help when they were here. They were bad boys.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. Well, who were your mother's friends? Who did she associate with? Who was coming over to your house and visiting, and who was visiting your brothers and stuff like that?
I'm trying to think, because like it talks about when they'd have a party or somebody get married back then, the party would last all night, because they had rare occasions to have a good party. So somebody would get married or something, and they'd just really have a rich starter, and the celebrating would go on all night long with the dancing and the festivities.
Did they like do that at people's houses?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
what
yeah.
about Woodman Hall? What was Woodman Hall? Was it there? Was it real old?
Yeah, my daddy was a woodman. In fact, I have got, and it's ironic that I ever found it. I found it out in the yard of our house, down in the dirt. His old woodman's pen, and I still have it.
Oh goodness.
Woodman of the world.
Oh, wow, your father's
Yeah,
pen.
and I don't
Okay.
remember exactly what year it was built.
Uh-huh.
It was a long time ago, and then we burned it down. Not Marcy and I individually, but
We were there the night it burned.
Donna Mae says that Don Roy was starting the furnace. And
That's
it
right,
blew
and
out.
it blew up.
It burned
it was
him.
Right.
And it
well,
burned
he
the
did a
house
real dumb thing. It was a butane heater, gas heater, and when he lit it, blew out, and which was really a dumb stuff. He grabbed the heater and carried it outside, and got badly burned in the process. And I was the only smart one there because when you came in the back of the Woodman Hall, there was a room at the rear that they had countertops that, and everybody had taken off their coats and thrown them up on the counter except me. And I was cold, and so I kept mine on. And I was the only one that ended up with the coat. And everybody else's was burned.
Freezing outside.
Yeah. And and Catherine Teller, she had gotten a record player for Christmas. And that's what we had playing, what we were dancing to. And who was it? Bubba Tracy that grabbed it and went running with it, or Dale?
Yeah.
It was Bubba Tracy.
Bubba Tracy.
Because Catherine, we started out of the building, Catherine was saying, "Oh, my record player," and her Chris. So Bubba Tracy ran back in and got it, and I grabbed the stack of records that must have been that tall. I ran all the way to the Teller house, which was across the street from our house,
Okay.
with them and when I went through the front door, I slipped, fell down, and those records just went sailing across the floor. Didn't break a one of them.
Would those be 78s? Is that what we're talking about? 78?
The big ones.
Yeah, the big.
The big platters. Yeah.
Right. Well, those are kind of brittle. You could break
Yeah,
those
Yeah,
pretty
you
you
easily.
can
really
really
easy. If you just drop
Yeah.
them, it'd break.
I see.
Yeah, but they were what do they call them? That 45, not 40, 70,
78.
45, so
78.
78. Yeah.
That's a good story.
Can I help you here?
Yeah, I like that.
So the Woodmen of the World, that was a fraternal lodge.
Fraternal, yeah.
And
Kind of
so,
like the moose or the,
right. So it so happened that they got established. The people in Port Aransas became woodmen,
yeah,
and then they built themselves a hall.
right.
You think it was built back around
Okay.
after Port Aransas became Port Aransas?
Yeah, probably so. And that was in 1910, Port Aransas became Port Aransas.
Thank you.
You okay, Mary?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we're running her out of here.
I gotta
We're
go.
disturbing
No,
her
I gotta
peace.
go to the bathroom.
Okay.
And then I'm going down the stairs.
Okay. She goes downstairs, down to the dining room.
Oh, okay. I get something to eat, huh? Are you hungry?
No,
Oh, okay.
I'm never hungry.
They make you eat, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you gotta have something to eat.
I will say one thing, this place is one of the nicest. Their meals are quite good, that I've never had what I'd call bad.
Really?
And it's clean, but they're,
Clean and pretty.
yeah,
Clean and pretty.
yeah,
I agree with that.
really is.
I'm glad of that. How'd that get in your hand that bag over here? Okay, that anyway. Okay. Well, besides Marcy, who were your friends
Marcy.
growing up?
Well, we didn't have a lot of choice.
Yeah. Well,
Weren't that many
name the
kids.
people. Name them
Well,
off
the
and tell
Tellers,
us a little
because
bit
like-
about the people you
Like
associated with.
my sister and Catherine Teller Aldridge were about the same age, and they were friends. And
And
Catherine,
what was your sister's name?
her name was actually Edna Catherine, but she was known as Tiny.
Okay.
And then y'all all called him Mulligan Teller, but we didn't. His name was Clarence, and we called him Clarence.
Mhm.
And I remember when I introduced Mark Teller to my brother one time, and I told my brother, I said, "This is Clarence Teller's son," and Mark said something about, you called him Clarence? Buddy said yes. And he said, how'd you get by with that? And Buddy said that was his name. And, and we did, I mean, you know, we called him Clarence.
I'll be darned. I wonder how he got that name.
Mulligan.
Yeah.
So it came back because his father was Norwegian, and somehow it came back Mulligan stew. I mean, apparently that was something they, and that's where the Mulligan came from.
I never knew Mulligan. I knew John.
Yeah, but like
But I never knew Mulligan.
Yeah, yeah, there were seven Mulligan, seven Teller children.
Yeah, that was a pretty good family, pretty big family.
Yeah.
Farley's had a big family.
And then there was Joyce Lister and Marguerite Moore and
Smith Moore,
the Hearst
and the Alsops.
and the Hearst kids.
Yeah, Shirley.
And Wilson Herndon and all of the Martin kids.
The Martins.
All
and
of the Weaver
Matthews,
kids.
And the Martins and the Dryers and the Martins and the...
When did the Dryers live in that neighborhood? The Dryers had a house right there next to the farm.
Yeah.
I got to go over here just a minute.
Did you get through? No. Yeah, it was, in fact, that house, Marcy was born in that house.
In the Dryer house?
Uh-huh,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah.
It was the old Henry Studeman property, which is now, I don't know who owns it, it's been sold, but, you know, it was there. In fact, that's initially where the Mercer house was, at that location. And then the house next to it was the Dryers, where the Dryers lived.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, it was a green house, but anyway, that's where Marcy was born. They were living there when Marcy was
And that
born.
was a house that looked similar to the Farley's house.
Yeah,
Kind of looked a lot like it.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
a two-story thing.
Yeah, look
Uh-huh.
to it, yeah.
So, and he had he had like 13 kids. But he
A bunch.
probably didn't have them
Well,
all
no,
up
see,
there.
he,
but-
the first wife, he had Dennis and Edgar Norris.
And what was her name? That wasn't Myrtle.
That was Myrtle. No, the first wife was not Myrtle. I don't remember her name.
Nobody knows her name.
Oh, I can find it.
Yeah, okay.
If I just had Mama, I could
I
find
tell
it.
you, 13 children's a lot of children.
Oh boy, think about it.
That's a bunch, isn't it?
I don't think I'd want to try
I
that.
taught school with a young woman who had 17
That's all right.
brothers and
I
sisters.
processed all the time.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
I'm just slow.
Okay, so he had two sons with his first
First
wife.
wife. Yeah.
And what became of her? Did she die?
I
or-
think she died.
Uh-huh.
I believe
Okay.
she died. And then I guess is when he married Myrtle
Mm-hmm.
and had a
And
whole...
she was a Thompson.
Yes.
Do you remember the other Thompsons?
Uh,
No.
Was it the same family where, well, no.
no, none of them over there left anymore.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But yeah, that was where Jesse Matthews, who married Johnny Matthews, was a Thompson.
And then there was a sister named, there was Jessie and Viola and
another
I want to
sister,
say Ollie.
Allie
Um,
Thompson's.
Viola Bouillon,
Uh-huh.
she was a Thompson.
Right.
Okay, run those by again. There's Myrtle and Viola.
No, there was
No.
Viola.
Myrtle had those. Viola and Jessie, and Ollie was the oldest, I think. Ollie, Viola, and Jessie.
But they didn't belong to Myrtle Dryer.
Those
They were
sisters?
Thompsons.
She
What-
was first married, she was a Thompson. She was married to a Thompson.
Oh, she was.
Yeah,
Myrtle was.
Myrtle was.
So was Myrtle their mother?
Yeah,
Jesse in that bunch? No.
no, Myrtle wasn't, but
No, Dealey.
mhm.
Dealey Roberts was.
No, poor old Miss Dealey. She was
The mother of Viola.
yeah. When she was married, because she was going with, and I think ended up marrying poor old Alfred Roberts.
Right.
Alfred
She did.
and Roberts and Ansel brothers had the taxidermy.
Oh,
place.
yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And then Ansel took it over.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyways, okay. So that was Myrtle. Who were her children with Edgar?
Oh, Lord of mercy.
Now, there was one more wife after Myrtle, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
A woman much younger, I believe, and he had another wrath by her.
Okay, so that had to be Stanley and Leo were brothers, and they were, Edgar's kids.
Yeah.
Maybe by the third wife.
Yeah.
Okay.
I bet you there must have been around 22 kids.
I'll never forget when I learned that Stanley and Lloyd were brothers.
Really?
Half brothers.
Yeah.
Stanley and Lloyd were brothers. Stanley's the youngest of the bunch. He's younger than me. Anyways.
Stanley, who?
Stanley Dryer.
Stanley Dryer.
Stanley and Leo. Leo was about my age.
I don't know him.
Stanley was much younger.
Stanley and Leo.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
They live out there now?
No, they don't live there anymore. Yeah, so they were the tail end of the Edgar Dryer down there. So he did pretty good.
You know what I got to thinking about dreaming the other night was when Lonnie Masson was up there on top of that house, and Miss Masson was chasing around the house, and he was singing, "I'll be glad when you're gone, you rascal, you." Now my Aunt Kate and I saw that.
This was his mama was chasing him for being bad.
Yeah.
And he was up on the roof of the house, running round and round. She was chasing around and around the house.
Mm-hmm.
With a frying pan.
Yeah, I don't know what she was going to do to him, kill him, I guess. But my Aunt Kate, we had, even after Daddy was, we had cows just for milk, and we'd have to, those darn old cows wouldn't come home, and we'd have to go look for them. And I'd always go with my Aunt Kate to go hunt the cows. And that's what we were doing when we happened to come upon the Masson house, with Miss Masson out there chasing around the house, and him up on the roof singing, "I'll be glad when you're gone, you rascal, you." And when he ever got down, I don't know what she did to him when he finally got down.
Yeah.
Killed him, I guess. No,
he didn't. She didn't.
So what house was that?
One down in the
what we call the
Ragtown.
And it was just a little flat top house.
Down by the jetties?
No, not
You
near
mean the
that.
shantytown across from the schoolhouse?
Yeah.
I get those mixed up. See, there's Ragtown and Shantytown. They kind of get called the same thing.
Yeah,
You're talking about across from where the schoolhouse is now, where the football field is.
Yeah, I guess. I'd have to drive over there.
Just like if you went down to the end of Mercer Street.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That was what, Shantytown down there?
That's what I've always heard it called. And then
See, it was
Ragtown would
to
be down by the. Yeah, well, see, that's what I'm trying to.
Ragtown
we're trying
was
to
down
get
closer
that
to the
straight.
channel.
Yeah.
No, Ragtown was on down Station Street, but not channel-wise, but on south.
Oh.
Ragtown.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're talking about the same thing. The Dryers lived out there before the
The
war.
Dryers and the Massons and the Martins.
Okay. Well, apparently a whole lot of people at one time or another lived out there.
Yeah.
Like somebody told me Woody Owsley when he first came here.
Yeah.
Probably.
Some other surprising names, I can't remember them right now. But who do you remember living out there in that shanty town?
The Richies.
You mean
The
Jim
Ma-
Ritchie?
Yeah. And basically the Martins and the Massons and the Dryers.
And the Belchers lived there for a little while before they bought a new house, and just any number of people went in there because they could squat there, live in a tent if they had to,
A lot of them did.
until they were better able to
They can move on to something else.
move on to something better.
Well, apparently for a long time there weren't all that many places to live anyway.
No, not really.
And that building a house or building Because Tyler Morrissey building a tourist court, that
Yeah.
was news. It made the newspaper.
Yeah.
You know, somebody built a house. Was there a Mercer that built homes? Who was a builder?
My daddy built houses. He built the old original island cottages.
Oh, okay. Well, that was about 1934
Yeah.
when they started building those.
Yeah, but Daddy built
Mm-hmm.
quite a number of houses I could probably still locate that my daddy built.
Yeah. Could you think of some names of people that he built them for? Or did he build them for people, or did
Yeah.
he just build them in
No,
homes?
they weren't speculated. He built them for
Uh-huh.
people.
I
They
see.
wanted a house and he built it.
Uh-huh.
But I'd have to rack my brain thinking who some of them were.
Or
Okay.
the old Barney Farley house.
The old Barney Farley, the original Barney
built
Farley.
that house,
He
huh?
built that house.
He was the prime contractor. He was
And
the
I
contractor.
always thought it looked like a gingerbread house.
Yeah.
And I was most upset when they messed it all up.
We were too. We were upset when he sold it out from under us.
Yeah,
Didn't tell anybody.
really?
He just went and bought property and sold it and built a new house for his Marie.
Yeah.
You know,
But,
nobody else
but, yeah,
wanted it.
My daddy built that house.
I'll be darned, I didn't know that. See, we know that they got the lumber from Fields Porter Lumber Company,
Yeah. And
and
Kansas Pass.
there's something about Fred Farley being one of the old Frederick being
Yeah.
one of the people that was running the show.
Yeah.
And I didn't know he built island cottages. Now, apparently there was more than one island cottages. That there were some others scattered around.
The ones I'm talking about were on Allister Street. Down
Yeah, right
about,
on the curve.
Yeah, down about where in the grocery store.
Yeah, not too
in
far from Tom Matthews' old
Yeah,
house.
Yeah,
hmm
yeah,
Yeah, well, you see, that goes way back. Where we see
Yeah.
pictures of it from
yeah.
way back in the 30s. And some of these photographs we have,
Yeah.
they show a lot of big, I'd call them expensive looking houses up in
Yeah.
that neighborhood, like on Mercer Street.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know I don't think they were there when you were growing up necessarily. This would have been like way back.
Yeah,
You know.
no.
But did they ever talk about that neighborhood? And because I know there were a lot of houses there that were gone, like probably after the storm.
You know, Marcy and I have often talked about not being able to understand why Mercer Street was no bigger than it was, and there isn't even a Matthews Street.
Right.
And, you know, some of the really old timers, there's no, and then they have all these, like, poor, you know, Allister, I'm sorry to say, but poor, I don't even know what the old man Allister, no one ever remembers him. And poor old Miss Allister was nutty as a fruitcake, really. And John and Joe were, poor little Mr. Joe was okay, but poor old John was town drunk.
Yeah.
And my brother says that Mr. Joe Allister, apparently he worked for the Farleys because said he was one of the best boat builders there was.
Yeah, JoJo. Everybody liked him.
Yeah,
Everybody liked Joe. They called him JoJo.
he was a sweet little man.
We have some pictures of him and stuff.
Yeah.
so
And they were
I guess he did good
Catholics
work.
and went to the Catholic Church.
Uh-huh.
And Mr. Joe always went, and John went only on Christmas.
Yeah.
And I remember the year that he passed around the collection plate, and he didn't put anything in, but he reached in and took out a handful of it.
Wow. So he really worked at it then, huh?
Yeah.
Being a
Worked
bad
at
boy.
being a bad boy.
Yeah.
That son of a gun. I never heard that. I'll hear about JoJo. I don't hear much about John.
Well, he was an old
I've heard
reprobate.
he was in the oil field for a while and stuff like that. So we look at the old plats of town. You know, you see the Brundret subdivision.
Yeah.
Brundret.
Yes.
You see the the Allister subdivision, Bouillon, Robert, and then there's two Mercers. You got
Well, there's a Cape
E.T.
Mercer
Mercer.
Survey number 10. That's one where
And then
our
Cape.
house and all the houses.
those in Kate's. Okay, so mine is in the Ed Mercer,
Okay.
over on White Street.
Okay.
just
okay.
up the
okay.
street.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Did you associate with the Farley kids?
Well, yeah, because the first graduating class at Port Aransas High School was in 1945. My brother and Clarence Teller, Tommy Olson, Estelle Pinky Farley,
Mm-hmm. Johnny Roberts?
Johnny Roberts. There were six.
And then Don Roy and I were.
There were just 6 of them?
Six,
Okay, name those again.
Tommy Olson, Leon Mercer, Clarence Teller, Pinky